Okay guys, well thank you all for coming. Just by way of an introduction to Kim, I actually don't know that much about her except how amazing she is for having done this, and I'm so grateful that she came down, drove all the way from Pemberton with baby in tow to give us a little recap of her incredibly ambitious journey that she made in order to make a statement. So thanks, Kim, and yeah, everybody can see okay?
Great. Well, thank you so much, Cheryl, for hosting this evening. I think it's really important to have these connections that are in shared space and to feel the support of our community around us. So thank you, and thank you all for coming tonight. Every time I recount this experience, it's an opportunity for me to reflect, and so I'm deeply grateful for that. And thanks for accommodating the schedule of my 6-month-old. I'm gonna have to bust out of here afterwards, but I've got my email and phone number at the very end. And I'd love to connect with you via whichever medium. I'm sure we'll be seeing more of each other as we continue with Let BC Vote. So anyway, I'll continue on here. A lot of this is, this is my experience, and it's some of the stories of some of the people that I met along the way that really had a great impression on me, and sort of some of my thoughts around activism and what's ahead. So this is Olivia Cedar Nash. She's out there in the flesh. I was like, yay! And she doesn't know it yet, but she was actually my motivation to run 1,177 kilometers. So I'm excited to talk with her one day about what it was all about. So a little bit of my background. This is me back in '99. I grew up in Ontario, but I spent the summers here planting trees, and I just fell in love with BC, with the mountains and the forests. I just learned this word really recently, but it turns out I'm a nemophile, which is a lover of forests. So like every person in this room, I'm sure, I was absolutely devastated when I heard what Enbridge planned to do. Build a mega pipeline from Alberta to the west coast of BC, transporting a corrosive substance through earthquake, avalanche, and landslide-prone zones, through pristine wilderness, and across hundreds of fish-bearing rivers, into the heart of the Great Bear Rainforest, the last remaining temperate rainforest of its kind, where magical spirit bears reside. What the fuck? Honestly, I couldn't believe that such a proposal was even being considered, let alone could become a reality. And the more I researched, the less it made sense. There just is so much at risk for so little gain. And honestly, the impending sense of loss and the violation of the sacred filled me with anguish and despair. The thought of doing nothing was something I couldn't live with. It's why I decided to take action. I asked myself, what can I do and what needs to be done? The research that I had done, I found that there wasn't a lot of voices of the people on the ground, and so I wanted to find out what they thought about this project. How did they imagine the future? So I set out to find out. I started a public engagement campaign called Band Together BC, and ran the length of Enbridge's proposed Northern Gateway pipeline. It's 1,177 kilometers. I wasn't a long distance runner by any means, but I was inspired by a Vancouverite, actually Matt Hill, who ran around North America. Ray Zahab as well is another great hero of mine, both of whom they ran with social justice and environmental issues that they were bringing awareness to. My intention was to talk with people and communities that would be directly impacted by the pipeline and to explore clean energy alternatives. Long before I reached those communities, I felt the support of my own community in Whistler. With their support, I crowdsourced $15,000 to buy this 1992 Delica as my support vehicle, and I converted it to run on waste veggie oil, so I was chasing the delicious smell of French fries everywhere I ran. Then I assembled this amazing team of drivers, and actually they mostly assembled themselves. That handsome guy up there on the left is my husband. People out of the blue got in touch with me to see how they could help out. Cody, who's down there on the right, I met him 2 weeks before he ended up driving for me. Kim was a Squamishite who got in touch and said, I want to do something for you, what can I do? And she came up and drove for me for a while. And so I began my journey on July 8th in the shadow of Mount Robson at the BC-Alberta border. And on August 21st, I arrived here in Prince Rupert. On most days I ran about 40 kilometers, 20 in the morning, 20 in the afternoon, with breaks in between to eat and blog and sleep. The scenery changed dramatically over the 47 days. Sun-drenched hayfields kissed the banks of silvery rivers beneath the dancing shadows of looming mountains. Wild sounds escaped the velvety maw of ancient forests that hugged the roads I ran along. I met farmers, loggers, fishermen, pipe welders, many others that worked the land and water and loved their home more than anything. We all knew what's at stake in the likely event of a spill. People welcomed me into their communities and homes, and I experienced more acts of kindness than I have time to recount here. It was an amazing experience to connect with people, both face-to-face and across social media, and their words and support and courageous actions inspired me to keep running. I felt like I was riding this tidal wave of human energy coalescing around the pipeline issue that was beginning to get a sense of its own potential. It was really starting to mount. Everywhere there was this powerful sentiment to protect the water, the salmon, BC's jobs, First Nations culture, and our democracy, and to never, ever give up. People like Murray here on the left and his family. Murray overcame a stutter to speak out against the pipeline. His work with the Joint Review Panel hearings is still something that I am inspired by, and that's a community group based out of Kitimat. He and his wife told me that they already have childcare lined up for their 11-year-old daughter, Farron, for when they get arrested for protesting this pipeline. Fighting the big tar sands related projects is really important because these projects hold more risk than value for British Columbians. But I feel that perpetually fighting actually depletes our energy and defines our actions in the negative. Instead of resounding the battle call, I really wanted to promote dialogue and discover what alternatives might exist to building pipelines and expanding the tar sands. I wanted to invite people to imagine a different future and to create that vision together. What I heard was remarkably similar in each community, and this is an outdoor dialogue session that I held just south of Terrace on the way to Kitimat, in the shadow of these beautiful ancient cedar trees. What I heard were lots of innovative ideas for producing clean, reliable energy that reduced our dependency on fossil fuels. One of my favorites came from a woman who owns a laundromat in the Hazelton area. She built a greenhouse on the roof. The roof needed to have some repair work done. She built a greenhouse up there using the exhaust from the laundromat underneath that would heat and provide CO2 for the plants, and then started a program for seniors in the community to be able to have access to these greenhouse-grown veggies and fruit. Just amazing. I started to notice something. We would start off talking about a national energy strategy that addresses economic prosperity, energy security, and climate change, but we'll quickly end up talking about local food production, bartering, and living off-grid. People got really excited about the idea of working together to diversify their local economy and build resiliency into their community. Local resilience is the key to being able to reduce our dependency on fossil fuels. Kevin Pegg is a great example of someone committed to resilience. He lives up just outside of Smithers. He lives fully off-grid, and he teaches others how to do the same. The summer of my run, he helped the Unistoten set up a settlement right on Enbridge's proposed route. If Enbridge's project is approved, the pipe will be laid over buildings and bodies. And that camp, I can send you in the direction of supporting the work that they're doing. They're laying infrastructure, buildings, plumbing to really have a permanent settlement right on the proposed route. Ricky and Brian are another couple that also live off-grid in the Hazelton area. They have spent the last 30 years using inexpensive, low-tech equipment, often recovered from dumps, to build and power their home. Ricky is also an expert in wildcrafting and uses her intimate knowledge of local plants to create healing foods and medicine. Ricky provided really moving testimony at the JRP hearings, and she sends her intention to the plants to ask for their healing properties. She was just this remarkable woman. This is John Wilson. He is Gitsan and member of the Gitsan Unity Movement. He's this really lovely, gentle man that had never dreamed of participating in direct action until one of his chiefs signed a secret deal with Enbridge in violation of traditional governance rules and the wishes of the rest of the clan. So all of a sudden, in the middle of December, where it's really cold, he found himself barricading the treaty office in protest, where they stayed for the next 6 months, 24 hours a day,
Wow.
just getting supported by the community. So John continues to support the Gitsan Unity movement, but also dedicates his time to the important tasks of harvesting food and catching salmon. I watched him pull 100 salmon from an elder's line and divide the fish up amongst the community without keeping one for himself or his family. His people rely on the salmon to feed their families, and so there's no amount of Enbridge money that could compensate for an oil spill that would threaten that food supply. This is Tom Henley. Does everyone know who Wade Davis is?
Yes.
Yeah.
Tom Henley is like a Wade Davis. He's this incredible storyteller. Like, look at the twinkle in his eyes. And I stayed at this camp that he runs, and I was just gonna bust out of there to go run, and I ended up staying the whole day and just eating delicious food and listening to his stories.
Where did you actually run? Like where?
I basically ran from the border, the BC-Alberta border to the coast with a dip down to Kitimat. So it's along the Highway of Tears. So it's a highway that runs right through Prince George. So basically the pipeline parallels that highway and it crosses right at Burns Lake.
Yeah.
It goes south and then it kind of transverses down to Kitimat. So I didn't run the actual route because it's through
Yeah.
The wilderness.
It's through the wilderness, but I ran along-ish.
The equivalent.
Did you train? I mean, you must have trained, or you're a runner anyways, you said, but not along.
Yeah, how this idea kind of emerged was I was training to run my first marathon. So I ran the Edge to Edge, which is the Tofino to Ucluit marathon. It's a really great marathon if you ever want to try a marathon. So people are like, no way. So yeah, I was just training to do this marathon, and I felt like I wanted to offer it up to something outside of myself, that would be a better motivation to, you know, to train properly and to you know, really put my heart into it. And this issue was just really kind of blowing up. It was the January, like when Joe Oliver was calling us terrorists, and like right around that time. So as I was training, I started to write a blog about, you know, what I was thinking about when I was running, which was this issue. And then I had this idea, why don't we do this big relay race of all these different people, these amazing people that I knew were concerned, and different activists that would each do a leg of from, you know, one community to the next, and there'd be like this sort of baton held, and then we'd all hold hands at the border of the BC. It's gonna be cold hands, not tar sands.
That's good.
And so I was, you know, getting really excited, but the timeline was so short because they shortened when the decision was going to be made. So it had to be an initiative that happened in the summer of 2012, and there just wasn't enough time to kind of coordinate this big relay thing. So then I was like, well, maybe I'll just do it myself. And I really didn't commit to that idea until I was talking with Matt Hill, who ran around North America. I mean, puts my run to shame. Like running 80 kilometers a day for a year around the whole continent. Like, you know, my little run wasn't anything like that, but
Not little.
he's just the most, like, you know, effervescent human. He's just so filled with positivity. He's like, Kim, I know you can do it. I can tell you can do it. And that really sort of like put that commitment into me to make it happen. And then as soon as I sort of voiced it, like so often when you're sort of on your path and you put that out to the world, I got just heaps of support. I mean, the people that came out of the woodwork to help me and to offer encouragement and to give me money to make it happen. Like there's just, you know, there really could be a whole other slideshow of all those great people that, you know, stood behind me. My husband that, you know, obviously supported me and came out and drove for a while, and just, you know, incredible love and support. So I guess like in our journey individually as activists, it's so easy to feel that despair. Like you're already connected to what's going on. That's why you're doing what you're doing, and it's really easy to, you know, we suffer from burnout because it's just so energetically taxing. And that's why I guess the message I'm hoping to share is that there is community, there is support out there to get your reserves up to be able to continue on with the work that you're doing. And the more that you can really place it in coming from a place of love and creation rather than fighting and I mean there is that element too, but you can find a way of also, feeling that creation that's coming out of this. And the creation is this community, these new people that are, that you share these values with. So
Good.
Well, like instead of fighting against something, we're fighting for something.
yeah,
That's
exactly.
so well put.
Yeah.
That Eunice Stoughton thing is the Warrior Up
Yeah.
Longhouse, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's another one now that's being.
Good.
Yeah. It starts with a W, I forget the name, but there's another camp that's going up right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Is it on Enbridge Roulette?
And actually, you know what? I have some T-shirts with this logo on it, as well as another one that has like a brain sort of graphically. I've got them here. I should pull them out. That says "Spill Ideas Instead." And so I have a few that I made. It's this awesome designer from Quebec who got in touch and was like, "What can I do?" And I was like, "Let's design a T-shirt logo." So we did. And I have these T-shirts, and I'd love to sell them and raise money for. I'd like it to go towards that camp. So anyway, if you're interested, if you like the design, I have a couple here. I think they're like extra large. If you want to get in touch with me, I can send them out, and it'll be like $15 or something, and it's going just straight to.
If you have some more too, we could maybe take them to a rally, like on September 21st.
Perfect.
Just a big rally.
Mhm.
That would be great. That's great. Anybody else? Thank you, Kim, so much. That was
That's
just
a marvel.
So, just really quickly, while you don't have to sit there, you can hear me. I just really want to thank Kim again. It was just fabulous to hear this firsthand. And I just want to kind of build on this just for a couple of minutes, and that is, Kim decided, what can I do? Like, I'm training for a run, and then she just expanded on that, like, incredibly, and did this incredible thing. And I think that we all suffer from, like, we get enthusiastic and then we kind of feel like it's not doing any good, and you read the paper and there's so much bad news, and you just feel like you're continually getting sent back. But the fact is, all of our individual small actions are making a huge difference, and that's what we have to believe. With the Enbridge pipeline, it's a perfect example. The project came from nobody really understanding it to really it being a galvanizing issue. And that's why Dogwood decided to take the Northern Gateway and make it the galvanizing issue to build community and to push forward the Citizens Initiative. So it's, as most of you in the room know, it's a two-part thing. We're trying to win this initiative. We're organizing, trying to win the initiative so that we can take a stand as British Columbians and say, no Northern Gateway, no Kinder Morgan, no pipeline and tanker projects across our province, no expansion from the tar sands. We've got to start scaling tar sands down. And if all of British Columbia could do that and we could win that initiative, of course that would be an incredible, incredible thing, and we're all working toward that. But if we don't win the initiative, if we work as hard as we can and we don't quite win it, we still will have created this amazing community. And that's the thing that we have to keep uppermost in our minds, to remember that, well, there's those ridings out there, or my team's not growing, or people are dropping off, or, everyone you talk to and everyone you involve in speaking out about how they feel about these projects, how depressed they are about these issues, we're helping people come forward, and we're building that community that's going to make the difference. I'll just share with you one little story, since stories are so great. I have these things all the time. So yesterday I met with this woman. She lives out in Deep Cove. We had coffee. She is a secretary in a dance studio and has been her whole life. She's like in her late 50s. She's done secretarial work like in a small business like that her whole life. And she said to me that when we met at Deep Cove Days, that she said, when I saw that what I could do is enter data, I thought maybe that's something that I can do that will make a difference. And she said, because the way I live my life, over the years, I've realized that I can't watch the news, I can't watch TV, I can't read the news, I just can't be involved because it makes me so anxious and so depressed, and I get all upset, and there's nothing I can do about it, and I feel powerless. And this story I hear over and over and over again. But she said to me, and I'm gonna cry, she said, with every line of data I enter, I'm going to feel like I've made a difference. And you know, I mean, it's extremely small. Like these little steps that we take are extremely small, but they all add up to something big. So that's what we have to really keep uppermost in our mind.
And when you have to enter the data, it's not that small.
You're right, I know.
That can make
She
you
thinks
cry.
it's small, but she hasn't done it yet. I know. Kelly is like a data queen.
No, I'm not.
Oh, you are. You
It's
enter
done.
a ton of data. It's great. Anyway, thanks so much. And so I'm going to get some food on the table. Thank you all for bringing food. Let's eat something. And I know some people have to leave, so don't worry about leaving. But in a few minutes, if any Dogwood people can stand a short meeting, I'd like to just talk for like 5 or 10 minutes about a couple of things. So thank you.
Cheryl.
Thanks, Kim.
Cheryl,
Yes.
can I ask you one question?
Yes.
Would you just harden up on what Dogwood is against right now?
Yes.
You've mentioned Enbridge, you've mentioned Kinder Morgan.
Yes.
You haven't mentioned LNG, you haven't mentioned the coal ports.
Yeah. Okay,
What is on the plate?
Okay.
Because it's good to know.
Okay, Dogwood Initiative, like all the different groups, we have limited resources, right? When I first got involved, I thought, well, why isn't every group working on this initiative? It's because every group is taxed. They can barely keep their doors open. You know, it's hard to raise enough funds to pay people who need to earn a living in order to work as an activist. So Dogwood has 2 campaigns. One is we're trying to fight against the expansion of the coal port, which has been approved,
Okay.
and I am not sure what the strategy is at this point. They don't have a lot of either resources, financial resources, or human resources for that. They have a petition that's being circulated and has been. They're working at political municipal levels, but I'm not sure exactly what their strategy for winning that one is. I don't know if we're going to win that one. I mean, it's a terrible situation.
Yeah.
The other campaign, which is, I think, much more doable and very concrete, is our Let BC Vote, our Citizens Initiative, which, as you know, Roger. And we have, although it galvanized around the Northern Gateway project, because everyone knows about it, there are so many people all over the province that are against it for various reasons. It's a great issue that we can imagine succeeding in a citizens initiative around. Even though we started with that, the way the initiative will be worded will be to include, it'll be expansion of tanker or pipeline and tanker projects. So it will include Kinder Morgan,
Right.
and it will include any other project that comes along. And it's not like if we win this initiative, the government will go, oh, well, we can never have a pipeline again. But any politician that wants to get elected is going to know that, oh, the whole province, the majority of people don't want this crap. And so I better not, if I want to get re-elected, be on the side of big oil and gas.